Hi, and welcome to my breakdown video for my electronic assessment song. This project was for my synthesis and sampling module for HNC sound production. For this module, we had some parameters that we had to follow and to be able to pass the module. Those parameters were to contain two synth patches and a sampler instrument, a minimum of 4 MIDI and audio tracks, also to use compression in either individual or groups, or even a master channel. And we had to use some time domain effects like reverb, delay, echo, and it also had to be a minimum of 2 minutes long. So I've made sure that I've met all the parameters for this song. So the first thing that I started off with was a wavetable and operator for my lead. This is what it sounds like. So I thought if I was to make a song that consisted of synths and sampler instruments and stuff like that, I thought I may as well just lean into that electronic sound as best as I could, and this is what I came up with. So in my operator, you can see here I've not played around with the first course too much, but the second one I've got the course on 3. You can listen to that here, and that just gives it a wee bit of a buzzy sound as well. I've also caked it in reverb. My thought process here was I wanted it to be just a very spacious song, and I want everything to be harmonically busy and everything to just kind of interact with each other. So what I ended up doing here was it's just caked in caked in reverb with an 8-second decay. I've got a lot of diffuse as well, just so it's a lot busier in the background. I've also got an auto filter here. This is just to make sure that this is just for the end bit, for the build up at the end, just so it builds up here. And for the wavetable, this is what the wavetable sounds like. So it's nice and simple. So it's a 2 sawtooths. One is warped ever so slightly. In the matrix, you can see the oscillator 2 position. That'll just bounce up and down a little bit with the LFO. And filter 1 frequency, that's on LFO 1. The LFO is quite faster, so this will move a lot faster. I wanted to be quite buzzy. And in the group, you can see I've got a redux here just to turn it down a wee bit. You can see what that does. It's just to give it that nice bit noise. I like that high frequency resonance that it gives it. You can see here I had some issues with some EQ as well. So I've just taken out anything above 300 hertz. Didn't need it because that's where the bass is going to be. So I've not really played anything with this. Everything else is just played with in the synths. I've also got this here, which is a copy of this operator. What I've done here is I've basically made a sawtooth for this synth. That's what it sounds like. What you can hear there is the spectral resonator. So for a spectral resonator, I still need to learn more on how it works and what it's inherently doing. But I did find that I love this granular effect right here. I don't know how it fully works, but for some reason it's incredible. Somehow, if I increase the mod rate, you can hear that everything starts to come back through, and the less that you give it, the lower the mod rate, it kind of basically sparses the notes somehow. So what I ended up doing is having that going in the background with really sparse notes going in the background with it, and I recorded this into a different channel, an audio channel, and reversed it. So now I have this. I think that just sounds really cool, especially in the background of the song. So this is what it sounds like in the background. And I've just ended up just repeating that throughout the full song. Right here you can see there's some more wavetables. So these are just some ear candy for the song, and also this section. So it's just an octave for that as well. These are just the oscillators just between a saw wave and a sine. And this one I've ended up using this formant, A-E-I-O-U. It just sounds really cool when it's in this certain section right here. Just playing around with wavetable, you can just get so much different sounds for it. Here the amp is quite quick. I wanted it to kind of be more like an ARP. So you could hear those individual notes and it would cut off quite quickly. So the delay here is only half a millisecond. Matrix oscillator 2, modulates just ever so slightly. You can see this. And it's the same for this. So I've delayed them ever so slightly so you have that stereo effect as well. For here, this is the ARP, this is the proper one. And this is for the build up. So you can see here that it eventually gets louder as well. Just for this certain section here, I wanted it to kind of creep in there. And also changes throughout the end. So if you see here, this is just a basic, it's just the same wavetable with a different oscillator here, same filter frequency and oscillator position. I've just copied and pasted them because these are stacks, so this is what it sounds like with them all. So what I've got on this is a reverb. Everything's caked in reverb on this channel especially, and I have this in the group. I have an auto filter, so this is just so it eventually gets louder on this section as well. So not only do they have their own wee bit of filtering, they've also got this as well. This is just because this is the rise bit, everything builds up here, everything gets more intense as it goes on. And I also have this whirriness. This is grain delay, so if you listen here, just gives it a little bit of feedback. So the next thing I'd like to talk about is this channel. This is my attempt at a super saw. So what I've done here is in oscillator 2, I've just been playing around with some other different types of oscillators, but the main one is this oscillator 1. This is a saw wave, just standard, nothing really special. But if you listen here, the key bends into that original key. The pitch bends into that key, and that's because of this matrix here. So in envelope 2, what I've done is I've bent the attack up. I've bent the pitch up to here, and I've made the attack roughly around 300 milliseconds. This is so I can bend into the pitch and within 300 milliseconds. And if I move that different, that changes. I've also got just the standard LFO 1, LFO 2. This is just to make it sound similar than with every other every other synth that's in the song. I've also got this OTT plugin. This is basically like a saturator compression plugin. Honestly, I need to learn a bit more about it. My friend showed me it, and when I was in NC, and honestly, it makes everything better. I don't really understand how it works fully, but playing around with it, whilst making this project, I ended up just making the sound, the Super Saw sound way better. So you can see here, I boosted this high end roughly about 15 dB, middle end about 5, low end about 10. Put some roughly about 5 decibels on each input, and I've turned down the output because it was a bit too much with all that in there. So this is what it sounds like without it. Quite boxy, so I think that sounds a lot better with it. Another reverb as well. It's just like basically like everything else. It's 66%, 3-second decay. It's just to make sure that it stays in that stereo space. And I also have this auto filter. This is just to cut out roughly about this is just to slowly bring in this high frequency as the song goes on. So you can see here the filter ends up modulating up and opening up that high cut as the song goes on. If you can hear in each chord, the pitch starts to wobble faster and faster. Builds up, and that's because I've got an LFO, and I've mapped this to track panning, and so what this does is it modulates the pitch. It modulates the panning on it. Without it, so the panning starts to increase the longer it goes, because I increase the rate of the LFO. So this is what it sounds like. So it goes from left to right and it just builds up. Next one I've got is this wavetable. This is my bass. It's just a standard synth bass. So what I've done here is I went into the distortion, clip sweep. It's quite a nice oscillator, to be honest. And I've got this Saw Dual. I just wanted something a little bit buzzy, and I didn't want to use like the basic shapes. I wanted to use something different. You can see here that I've cut out. I've got a high cut on this as well, just to take out that high frequency. If I take it, it's too buzzy, so that boosts that low end. I've also got an EQ8 here as well, doing the same thing and boosting the roughly around like 200 hertz and below, boosting that roughly around 8 decibels. I've also got a wide stereo here as well. This is just to give it more of a stereo, just give the bass more of a stereo sound. Without it, it's more in the middle. It's very, very slight though. It's just quite nice with that on it. I've also got vinyl distortion. This is just to and you can see it's quite on a low frequency as well. This is just to give it just a slight boost in that low frequency, and brings out a little bit more buzz because it's a distortion. See the compressors working on overtime here. It's -17, and the ratio's basically on infinite because I wanted to sit really level on that channel. I've also got a an auto filler on this. This is just for the build up as well, so the frequency goes up. And the next thing is the drums. So for here, you can listen to this. So each of these is its own drum rack. For this one, it's a hi-hat combo. So I mapped them in, and each of them have got redux, reverb. This one has an auto pan and but this one has an echo. I wanted this one to be quite prominent compared to this one because they're here for different tonal textures. But I wanted this one to have quite a lot of echo in it. The echo does die out at the end as well, so it turns off because I wanted it to be basically on grid, very very on the dot. So you can see here that it's on 1/8. It's synced. I didn't want it to be. I didn't want it to be on time. I wanted it to be on grid. The input and feedback. What I done was I used a modulator. So once it gets to a certain section, then the echo plugin starts to boost. So that's what that sounds like. And also the feedback as well, and this is in certain areas like here. I've also got a compressor on this. This is just to get it nice and this is just to get it nice and level so it doesn't go over anything, just to play it safe. Also with this one, same thing. Well, it was the same compressor actually, so it was right there. I must have accidentally deleted that. And the next thing is the kicks. So these are two different ones. This one's kind of like the high sound, like the high frequency of the kick, and this is the sub. You can see both of them have drum bus, different parameters though. So this one's got a driver 23 on hard. I've just increased that boom, so I've increased the boom, so it's more of the lower end, more of the sub that kind of kicks through, because it had enough crunch to it, like that mid frequency from a kick. And this one I've done the same. It's 17%. I've added a little bit of dampening in it because I wanted some of that middle to high end as well. You can see the compressor as well. I've put them on infinite as well because I wanted them to stay quite level in the mix. I've also got this, which is basically like a ride. You can see here I've used a saturator and another compressor just to keep it nice and level. And then there's my sampling instruments. Now I find this one's just a basic one. They're all a copy of the same sampler instrument, with some different processing going on behind the scenes. So this one is just kind of like an app. So you can see here it's just reverb and more spectral resonator. Just playing around with this, I found that 30%. I just find that this just really makes it sound quite nice. Especially on this one. Turn up. And the next thing I'd like to talk about is the sampling instruments. So these are all a copy of the same instrument. The samples that are used in it are guitars. But the main thing that I'd like to talk about on these is the processing behind them. So if you see here, I've got this one's just a simple. It's just got some simple reverb in it. It's just 67 for 4 seconds, but this one's the one that I mainly want to talk about. So you can see here that the panning is going a bit crazy. That's because this is what it sounds like. So what I've done to make this sound is I used an LFO, and you can see here that the rate I've mapped this to the panning control, and you can see the rate slowly goes down the group channel. So that'll just slow down once it gets to this to the next section, to the end of the bar, and also the depth stays level through almost like 2/3 of the bar, and starts to drop dramatically at the end until the LFO is basically stopped, and then I'll slowly kick back up. So without the LFO, this is what the instrument sounds like. And with it, this is what it sounds like. I think that just sounds really, really cool. I think I've done quite well with that. And the individual channels for the sampling instruments, they're caked in reverb again. So 67%, 4 seconds. I've kept basically everything roughly in the same reverb. And I didn't add them into like a big massive group because I wanted all the reverbs to kind of clash with each other and be quite messy and just kind of like not muddy everything up, but just kind of be chaotic. I've also got a spectral resonator here, so that doesn't really do anything as much. That's just me playing around with stuff. But you can see here in the EQ, I've taken roughly about 2k down about 7 decibels, because without it, I'll turn this down. It's quite buzzy, and I didn't like that. I like the lower end of that. So yeah, that's the sampling instruments. The next thing that I'd like to talk about is this wavetable. This is the last thing that's that I've done for the this is the last thing I've done for the project. So you can listen to it here. So I wanted it to be quite robotic. I wanted to have quite a robotic ARP in the background. Most of the channels are basically like an ARP, like a trio chord just going up or down, or doing something like that with the lead going in the background. I wanted it to be quite repetitive. So what I've done here is you can see here that I've got just your basic reverb again. I've got it on 6 seconds decay. I wanted this one to be a little bit more reverby. I've boosted that bass because it eventually, with this auto filter, everything starts to kick in. So you can see at the climax of the song, it's the filter is basically turned off at that point. I've also got a compressor here. This is just as a safeguard, basically, just to make sure that it doesn't go over anything. And over here I've got some automation. This bit is just a build up. So once all the other channels stop at the end of the end of the build up, this bit kind of kicks in and takes the lead, and then starts to go back to its normal self again. This second channel, what I've done is I've duplicated the track and I've delayed it ever so slightly, and you can see here in the panning that this one will bend to the right ear and this one will bend to the left ear. So it starts as mono and then bends into like a stereo sweep. So this is what that sounds like. I think that sounds quite cool as well. So that's basically that. That's how I made the song. These this is just all of my synth patches that I made for my synthesis and sampling module, and I just kept them here just so I could get them easily accessible, so I can play around in here with them. So that's basically it. This is everything I wanted to break down on my project. Thanks. Bye.